talk about is like this group of dudes who race cars through the streets of New York and put it on YouTube. And have like a whole team of guys.
Yeah.
There's a really bad rapper who I think his parents are rich, who uses that money to buy the cars for these guys and then rides around with them, and all these guys want to be on his crew of guys driving these cars, right?
Right.
Like, that's the cool spot, not want to work in this place.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Right.
I don't know.
Welcome to Cult Favorite, the podcast that has not read the 48 Laws of Power. Thank goodness. I'm Miranda Simmons.
And I'm Mike Altman. That book...
How to Lose Friends and Manipulate People, I think is the subtitle.
Was that really the...
No, but you know how to win friends and influence people.
I kind of went down a rabbit hole on the whole... I was kind of fascinated by it. Like a lot. It was apparently quite...
I like to shine a flashlight down my rabbit holes, just kind of get like a sense of whether there's anything immediately like horrific that I don't want to kind of crawl through.
Yeah.
I try to get like a sense before then I venture in. And then you can't help it.
Like,
but
this
one I feel like I would have.
Well, see, part of it is my main strategy to advance my career has just been to try to find stuff no one else is talking about. So when something like this pops up and I'm like, oh, that could be a thing I write a thing about that no one's written about, and
sure,
then
you could write about
sheer novelty.
I would be interested in how, like, the appeal. I'm sure that people have written about this, but like what it is that appeals to us about specific numbers, like
48.
Yeah. I mean, and I don't think that the number itself matters. It could be the 26 laws or the whatever. Is it because it makes
7 habits of highly effective people?
Right.
I had to read that in high school.
Is it like a thing that suggests clarity to our
You know what you're getting into.
Maybe.
Once I read 48 of these, got it. That's why we number our episodes, right? I'm Mike Allman. We are 2 religious studies professors trying to understand all these cult documentaries you can't stop binge watching. And we're talking about Trainwreck, the cult of American Apparel.
Have we done a Trainwreck episode yet?
I haven't. There's a number we could do.
Interesting.
Because the Favre documentary was not Trainwreck. It was Untold.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a couple.
Trainwreck is a series on Netflix. It has, multiples. And Woodstock 99 is one of the episodes.
Yep.
Yeah, there are a few. But this one actually has the subtitle, The Cult of American Apparel.
There's apparently 8 of them, speaking of numbers.
All right.
Yeah. There's the Astro World. There's Balloon Boy. The
poop ship.
The poop cruise.
Oh, cruise. Poop cruise.
The Area 51 storming.
We don't have to go through these right now.
All right.
There's a content warning for this one specifically because there are allegations of sexual assault made against the former CEO of the clothing company formerly known as American Apparel.
Yeah.
So be mindful.
What did you know about American Apparel?
Like it was a brand. I don't know.
There.
I mean, I don't know that I've always been I don't know that I would characterize myself as on trend through much of my coming of age. I don't know. Like, do you remember Rebecca Solnit's book, Men Explain Things to Me?
Yeah.
That's how we got like the phrase mansplaining or the
right.
word mansplaining. Like billboards sell things to me. And so I knew that they existed.
Yeah.
I knew how they tried to sell things. It didn't really I thought it was cool that they had paid workers a fair wage.
Yeah.
And they made legalized gay t-shirts when Prop 8 was passed in California in 2008.
Yeah.
To give to protesters.
I remember I was in college in Charleston, South Carolina when they got a store in Charleston.
Okay.
And I can't remember if I bought anything. I remember liking their clothes.
Okay.
I remember the whole made in America thing. I was like,
sure.
I was in a very let's get rid of sweatshops moment. So the idealism definitely appealed to me.
The idealism of people who also were wearing UGG for a large amount of money in the summer.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I associate it with
the This was the early aughts.
Yeah, there was an Urban Outfitters that
there was a vibe.
about the same time. Like I have that whole Urban Outfitters. Yeah,
sure.
Yeah,
people were trying to look outdoorsy, maybe.
Yeah, everyone was moving to Brooklyn that moment. It was a whole thing.
I remember they had like really streamlined V-neck T-shirts and like very colorful leggings. When leggings were starting to
they had I remember, I think,
but like in a classy way, not in the LuLaRoe way.
No,
it was a very like hip, young, edgy vibe instead of.
And I think and it had that kind of mid-century aesthetic of the solids, like a ringer around it or whatever.
Right.
I remember I really wanted a red hooded zip sweatshirt from there. I don't know if I ever got it.
If we played intro music, that if we had more production money, we would play Adam Sandler's Red Hooded Sweatshirt.
That's right.
It's what Carson, one of our former employee interviewees, is wearing.
Yeah.
He's wearing a Red Hooded Sweatshirt.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's American Apparel. Anyway.
And then I remember hearing the stories about it falling apart and the dude, Dov Charney, who we'll learn so much about. I remember kind of the downfall and being like, oh, that makes sense. When that happened.
Okay.
So, all right.
What gets covered?
Synopsis. So it's a super compact, it's like 55-minute little documentary about the rise and fall of American Apparel. Specifically, its CEO, Dov Charney.
I don't know that he falls, though.
Doesn't really fall.
He just makes another company and in LA, and they do some stuff for like the Yeezy brand.
Kanye
Yeezy.
I think he was the one who designed the like White Lives Matter shirt that Kanye wore.
Really?
Yeah. I think I read that on Wikipedia.
Oh, interesting.
I went to his Instagram, and I'm assuming this is like in light of this. I think the documentary came out like a month ago, maybe
something like that.
June.
Mm-hmm.
But I went on his Instagram, and every picture he like tries to post these like pictures of like around LA, like interesting stuff, and all the comments are people being like, "You are horrible," like just people telling him how terrible he is.
It's even more recent than that. I think I don't know when it came out, but it doesn't matter. It's very recent. We are being on trend with even this conversation. So we would make early Mike proud.
We want to know. That's right. Well, we want to be in the discourse, part of the conversation. Yeah, it was like early July. All right. So what doesn't get covered? There's not a lot of like the larger context. I mean, of all the stuff we've watched, people may have listened to us talk about. It's probably closest, I think, to the what was it? The Cult of Fast Fashion. Brandy Hellville in the Cult of Fast Fashion.
I knew you'd get there.
In terms of topic, thank you. But unlike that, it's shorter and then also lacks a lot of that,
right?
Like context, like why American Apparel got so popular, why someone like Dov would be charismatic to 20-year-olds in 2005.
We'll put a pin right there so that then when we get to my cult favorite, we can pull out the pen and I can show you where to go get more context if you wish.
That's the first time someone's both said they were going to put a pin in something
and actually
and remove it.
Yeah. No, I'm not gonna give the
So all right, it's like a very basic 3-act play.
You love those.
I do. Well, I mean,
you like an Aristotelian.
They're easy to make.
Sure.
They're this is what I assume this is what people learn in film school. We get the cult language for our purposes. The cult language is in the subtitle or the title, and then we get cult very early on with this phrase. It was a fashion cult, which I find a really interesting phrase. And then we get introduced to a bunch in the sort of introductions and the rise of like what this thing was. We meet Johnny Makeup. Was that the name? I didn't. They don't label last names in little chirons.
Well, because you remember the ads, like the hello, whoever, or hi, or what? Well, the little like ads for American Apparel would say, "Hi, Mike," or "Meet Mike," or something like that.
It was meet.
It was like, so you would be wearing one of their T-shirts, and it would be like, "Meet Mike. He likes surfing in the summer and has 25 children, and he still knows how to be fashionable." And then, like, whatever.
Yeah.
That's my summary of you.
I think I know what we should do for next fall's faculty bios.
Let's not do it.
So we have Johnny, who is I think one of the best interviews in the whole thing, and most interesting
Sure.
because of his location vis-a-vis Dov Charney. We'll talk in a second. EJ, Michelle, Carson. These are the various folks, and you get this kind of. They talk about sort of how the store is hiring, sort of as Johnny put it, freaks and geeks. So hiring sort of trendy looking young people in the early 2000s, and as Johnny says that they had a slogan: "If you see someone shoplifting, tell them we're hiring."
Yeah, it was like, we want unpolished, we want raw, we want natural, we want people off the street, not models, no makeup, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and it was reflected in the ads that were usually models that were not. They were not body types that were staunchly outside of the norm, but they were just like not the hyper model bodies.
Yeah, and the vibe was very like
no makeup,
teen bedroom Polaroid kind of thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, this is like I should look this up. I don't know when Instagram launched, but it has early.
Wasn't it 2010?
Was it? Okay.
I learned that because of Hillsong.
That's right.
Wasn't it 2010? Yeah. Something like that.
It has that early Instagram vibe to it. And I think also stands up, like they made it, one of the interesting points they made is how different that was than what like J. Crew, and Gap, and all these other brands were doing. So we get their clothes are simple, solids, no logos, lots of colors, basic elements, and everyone who gets hired feels like they're working at the cool place. And then we meet Dov Charney, the flamboyant clothing entrepreneur, who has this interesting balance of like this idealism of like, we're going to make everything in America, no sweatshops. He's like pro open borders.
He's Canadian. And so he's,
and he is this sort of like hyper ultra work, never sleeps, working constantly. And he expects that from his employees. They're working 80, 102-hour weeks. He comes up with these ads that are described in some places as softcore porn.
Yeah.
But they're he's just finding models off the street or in the stores, no makeup, posed and lit in sort of very relatable ways that we talk about. And then he opens this 800,000 square foot factory in Los Angeles where they do marketing, design, production, everything sort of one space. So that's like the rise of this energetic, charismatic guy who is, as he says, leading. I run my company impulsively.
Right. Yeah, he's just doing stuff. That's just very much his.
Shit. Yep. Just doing shit, man. And we get sort of the good times. Johnny talks about. So a lot of the people they interview, EJ, Carson, Johnny, they all end up getting jobs at the factory,
right?
In Los Angeles,
which was like the place that people wanted to be.
Yeah, so they're all moving to LA, and Johnny talks about this starter kit you get when you show up, which is a Leica camera, a new BlackBerry phone, a copy of the 48 Laws of Power, a book that we may get back to.
Whose author lands a spot on the board of directors.
Robert Greene. Who's an I would look at his Wikipedia guy, and a Magic Wand vibrator. And that's the segue into the kind of like sex is everywhere, everyone's sleeping together, free sex vibe.
Which is like, should be such a early, I mean, if the 80-hour work weeks don't do it for you, getting a vibrator as part of your like welcome package as an employee should be a red flag. But instead, because you are dealing with 18-year-olds who are just so excited to be part of this brand, it was like funny and cool and just part of the party.
And you have this thing where people are going from like entry-level store, stock person to manager of a store in 6 months.
That's right.
Working at the factory.
Johnny was like, I had no resume. Not really. Yeah. It was a blank sheet of paper and they didn't really care.
Yeah. So who knows?
The interview was just vibes. That's what Carson said.
These people don't know what human resources is.
No.
And along with this sort of free sex, young 20s folks in power moment comes mediation agreements, NDAs or that everyone has to sign whenever they get a raise, if they get hired, that says like you can't sue, you can't say anything negative about the company. And so there's just a lot of stuff and the cracks start to show. There's these weekly conference calls where Dov is just like yelling at everybody. And there's this kind of feeling that early on, as one person said, do I hate him or do I think he's hilarious?
Right.
So he's going to be a total dick to somebody, but
Sure.
he's going to say something funny and charming, and everyone's going to laugh. And
Well, and there's also this really like stark dichotomy between paying like workers, many of whom are immigrants, many of whom are undocumented immigrants, like better than minimum wage, like far higher than minimum wage at the time. And so there's this kind of humanitarian effort alongside someone just like spouting verbal abuse inside of corporate calls. So there's like how he treats whom inside of this factory is a really like interesting thing.
Yeah, there's a line, trying to find it in my notes, but there's a line from one of the reporters, sort of investigative reporters from Bloomberg who covers this, who says sort of like it's the idealism. There's like an idealism and a kind of sexuality or kind of transgressive sexuality that balance, that sort of balanced each other out for so many people,
right?
That you couldn't have just the idealism because that would be boring,
right?
But the transgressive side was what made it interesting, but was then okay because
without the idealism, it would be sleazy,
right? Exactly. So. Speaking of sleazy, Dov has a giant marble mansion. Johnny Makeup is living there with him at one point.
Why wouldn't you?
It's always open and unlocked. There's girls everywhere. Johnny calls it the Playboy Mansion for hipsters. And so there's this sort of open secret that Dov is sleeping with all the employees. Yep. There's a group of, quote, Dov girls that are literally hired to just sort of do what he wants. And they'll show up and tell people what to do.
Right.
They're feared by other normal employees.
Ambiguous titles.
And like the real problems begin when the company decides to go public.
Yeah.
And Dov thinks he's put together a very cozy board of directors. Two of the people are personal friends. One is Robert Greene, the author of that 48 Laws of Power.
Right.
And his like crazy aggressive management strategy just starts to grate on people. There's this very sort of narc culture of rewarding people for tattling on each other. He will trick you into saying something mean about somebody while they're on the other line of the phone. And he'll just impulsively fire people. But at the same time, a lot of these young people, especially the young dudes, seem to be looking up to Dov as some sort of model of successful businessman. So they go public.
Right.
And then the beginning of the end is the 2008 recession.
Yeah, because they go public in like 2006 or so. And so it's not long after that.
The recession hits and they kind of don't change anything. There's somebody sort of lighting money on fire. Because
he's using all of the money to just open more stores.
Yeah, they're growing and growing. No one tells him no. No one says, no one's there. There's no one else around. Like when you hire a bunch of unqualified people, there's no one qualified to be like, hey, that's not a good idea.
Right.
You're the only qualified person in the room.
Sure.
There's also an audit from ICE in 2009.
This is when the Obama administration is deporting a lot of immigrants. Yeah.
And they found 1,500 workers with false or fake documents. That's a huge financial hit because he has to rebuild his workforce. And and at that point, you kind of get the sense that the charm has run out, and everyone's now just like, this guy's terrible and a dick. The entire staff is chatting on AOL Instant Messenger, and then we start to get the sexual assault or sexual harassment and sexual assault allegations and lawsuits. We hear from Tony Jeremiah, who's the lawyer behind it all, behind the women, and there's one woman sues, then the second what follows. Kimbra Lowe is another one who goes public and sues. But
it's complicated because they've signed these agreements that say if you say anything negative, it has to be dealt with in private like arbitration and not in public court.
And this puts all of these employees into the kind of position of like either defending Dov or not. And Dov's treatment of everybody just gets worse and worse. And one of the interesting parts is when Carson they have all of the people they interview read out of the 48 Laws of Power. But Carson talks about going and finding the book.
Yeah.
Which actually we had a copy in the library here, but this was stolen in 2012.
No kidding.
which I think totally makes sense.
Carson's an interesting dude, I will say very quickly, because he came from a really strict, were you getting there? Am I stealing here?
Go for it.
Well, he came from a really strict Mormon background.
Yeah.
And so he ran away from home at like age 17. American Apparel is what gives him a sense of purpose and home. And so it's interesting to hear from him, like the comparisons that he makes between like, wait, how did I end up here? How am I getting exploited in this way? I'm supposed to know better because I came from. So he's making this.
He says, there's a quote. It's like, I'm from essentially like another cult. I was primed as a kid. That's his language. And so, yeah, everyone's quitting at this point. Basically, there's these stories like Michelle, one of the women who worked there, had not eaten all day. Dov yells at her about what have you done nothing today. And while he's yelling at her, a Dov girl brings him a steak on a plate, and then she screams at him and gets fired.
Right.
And then with all of this stuff happening, there's the board of directors is like, all right, we're done. They try to get rid of Dov. They hire investigators. They find a server. There's not a lot of information about this, but basically they find a server or a hard drive in his office that is just full of sexually explicit videos, texts, messages, ostensibly from employees.
Right.
Whatever. So he gets fired in 2014.
And videos like legit of him. And this was just kind of a thing that he did. Like there's a photo of him just wearing, I guess, ostensibly company underwear or something in front of like some workers who are sewing stuff. There is a video of him just kind of like walking around naked in front of two employees. Like this was all, as he pitched it, like part of just who I am, man. You know, part of that, just like, I'm just living life. Yeah. I'm making a company. I'm working hard.
Just living the life.
Yeah.
So 2014 is when he's finally fired by the board, which that's pretty decent amount of time since things really start to go south. So, anyways.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I will say that is the one problem with the documentary is they do not give you any years ever. Like,
right.
You have to really pay attention to figure out the timeline.
Sure.
So all of those complaints, like you just said, were sent to confidential arbitration because of the agreements they signed. Some of the women actually go to Congress to try to get the laws changed. That does not happen.
To keep employers from making people requiring those kinds of agreements.
This is probably the fourth or fifth time we've come across these sorts of agreements. In this situation, going from everything from Hillsong to Vince McMahon.
And one of the women's lawyers is like, so, you know, just by virtue of having such an agreement, it begs the question of what the company is like, why the need for that kind of privacy.
It's not like there were a lot of deep company secrets.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just making basic clothing.
Right.
They didn't invent some new process for this.
Yeah.
Some allegations did enter the public domain. This was an interesting move, I think, by the filmmakers. They have three different actors, sort of read those descriptions. They're very graphic and gross.
Some alleged rape and sexual assault. Yeah.
Yes. Carson has another interesting line where he kind of says, like, for whatever reason, as a society, we've decided to let that type of person continue.
Namely, a predator.
Yeah. And Charney is, 9 months after Charney's fired, the company files for bankruptcy, and he goes off and creates Los Angeles Apparel. So it's a more localized version.
Right.
Making kind of the same stuff, using the exact same factory.
Oh, interesting.
Same exact space, all of that. And also gets hired as CEO of another company, which we find out at the very end is Yeezy, Kanye West's clothing company.
Yeah.
And that's how it ends.
It ends most directly, like the very, very last thing we hear is a recent video of Dov saying, I ain't sorry for shit.
Yeah.
I'm not sorry for shit or something. He said something like that. It was him not just being like avoiding the question. It was him like directly saying that I'm not only not going to apologize, I am going to assert that I am actively not sorry.
Yeah.
So it was
yeah,
like,
it's like I did
an
nothing. It's like
anti-apology.
I did nothing wrong.
Yeah.
Um,
Because I am who I am. And so this appeal to like who he is as an individual and how we see that kind of operating as a
Mhm.
social tool is really interesting to me. Just in general, I mean, we could say that about a lot of the documentaries that we've watched, but when that appeal is made and how much purchase it tends to have of like, that's just this dude being this dude, or this is just, whoever being like the eccentricity is
Yes.
what they identify these abuses as belonging to,
Yeah.
rather than
like
abuse.
there are plenty of like
Systematic abuse.
kind eccentric people.
Yeah. Right.
Like,
Anyway.
you can be eccentric and harmless. No, but I think you're right. I think we see that a lot. Okay, so that's what happens. What do you want to talk about?
Well, first, would you tell me and our dear listeners why you said that you thought that the idea of a fashion cult is interesting? Yeah. Why do you think that's interesting?
I think it's interesting because it gives us another category where we think it's a thing that's supposed to be like good or have a kind of higher value to it, but it's when it's misdone or done the wrong way or harmful, it's a cult, right? So like a religious cult is like, oh, well, like religion's like the generally accepted is like, oh, religion's a good thing. It's about personal spirituality and ethics and morals. But when it goes bad, it's a cult, right?
So the idea that the actual like label of cult holds inside of it the implicit privileging of the very thing that it has like done
exactly.
wrong.
The cult is like the Waluigi or Wario of whatever, of the other thing, right? Like it's the evil opposite.
Yes.
Anyways.
Okay. Well, I was just curious.
Well, and I was gonna say too, like I was thinking when you the fashion thing, it also the other thing it does is it then like hides the very real harms baked into the thing we still think of as good.
Exactly.
So like there's all sorts of things wrong with fashion.
Totally.
But we don't talk. But like because of American Apparel, the cult of American Apparel, it's like the place with the horrible CEO who's like abusing people.
Totally.
Gets away from all of the other, sort of structural problems within fashion. The same thing with religion. Like the things that are cults
are
a way to like don't look at all the abuses happening in the Southern Baptist Convention,
tax
et cetera. Yeah.
And fashion is an interesting example of all of this because designers are kind of famously eccentric personalities,
right?
Who, like, but as long as I guess there's not like really specific allegations of abuse, then it's adorable or something. I don't know.
I mean, it's like, and it
not that there's anything wrong with eccentricity. We were just talking about like how our offices reflect our personalities, and my office could be described as eccentric. So whatever. But yeah, we do see these personalities and these kinds of phenomena play out in lots of different systems.
Right. And the idea fashion is this idea that it's somehow different from pure retail.
Right.
Right. Like there's an art to it. There's some other essential something.
Yep.
In much the same way that like, well, religion isn't really about like just money and power and social organization. It's also about like, so I actually think that was an interesting way to think about like the other places, like we've seen this in sports, and this in music, that there are these other social locations where we make this same move of like, and cult has creeped into that kind of space.
Yeah, because any qualifier could do that work, right? Like fast fashion is something that is distinguished from just fashion,
right? Like fast food,
which is
no one thinks fast food is in any way like gourmet art. Right?
Yeah.
So it's this, that's the other way, and it is interesting. I think more and more the ways that like to me, this documentary that just came out this summer, using this language of cult in the title, shows up throughout the documentary. They even point to a book that has these seemingly ominous things about manipulation in it.
Mm-hmm.
It just shows like capping off like we are really in a cult. Like it is now it is not even a thing where people look side eye about it.
Mm-hmm.
It is just a term we have to describe icky things in a variety of places. And that I think is relatively new and interesting within sort of American culture.
We're looking for language. I mean, there are 25 things that we're doing, but one of the things that I think is reflected by this phenomenon is the need to look for and access some language about abuse. And so in some sectors, we talk about trauma. And in other sectors, we talk about, like, I think that there are different spaces that are putting more language to experiences that can that are, you know, that land as abuse, you know. And so different sectors do that differently. Trauma means one thing and is treated in one way by like a wellness community than it is in like a psychoanalytic community or whatever. But so we have different methods and stuff, but I think that kind of popularly, broad scale, in some kind of colloquial sense, excuse me, there is, we're looking for ways to talk about the things that happen inside of the structures that we rely on in such a pervasive way. Like we rely on capitalism, we rely on you know, corporations working in certain ways, we rely on CEO power, like I don't know, there are like all of these things. And so then when they're but a lot of these things have really terrible, you know,
and there's
things happen.
I think so the cult discourse carries with it a kind of expectation that's not met, that like if we knew that corporations were meant to suck all the life out of us, we wouldn't talk about these things as cult.
Right.
That there's an expectation that they're supposed to be good things and they're not. Right.
Yes.
And so that's like so the base model of like religion is supposed to be a good thing, and when it's not, it's a cult.
This is done wrong. Yeah. There's
has now sort of like break, broken, contained, and it's any institutions or sort of, you know, sectors of society we expect to be good, but are not. Like to me, that is the kind of base underlying narrative of all of these documents.
Some kind of like perversion of a pure norm. Some kind, as if the norm that we've internalized is untainted and good and fine. That there are these qualitative attachments that we have already to that norm that we just don't realize what we actually put the language to. And so then what we search for is the aberration. We don't try to put language to what qu'est-ce que c'est capitalism? Like how do we, you know, all of those other things.
That's why an Amazon and a Netflix and an HBO Max, you know, owned by Warner Brothers Discovery, is down with producing all these documentaries, because they actually don't question the goodness of the thing that's the other side of the cult coin.
That's right.
And so they're actually really, really powerful pieces of ideological media in that way.
And that's, I think, you know, that's why I find them interesting to talk about, is like, what is the thing that's being normalized in a story about the aberration? Like, anyway, the other thing, well, and so maybe this is this is maybe the other thing I wanted to talk about, but I guess it's just another version of that same thing, is that the fact that this company seemed revolutionary and cool and cutting edge, and we see like that giant sign on the factory that reads like American Apparel is an industrial revolution, which is a very catchy, like that's really smart marketing. And that people thought that they were, part of something and like belonging to something just because they didn't underpay their workers in sweatshop conditions. Like that was literally the bar,
Yeah.
We're not underpaying people in sweatshop conditions, and not doing that is somehow some like radical utopian
Mm-hmm.
workers' rights, like space of progressive labor conditions. And it's like, really? Is it? That's a sad state of affairs,
Do you remember? This is a little later, so this comes after, but I think it gets at it. Do you remember the Mr. Daisy and the Apple Factory? It was a This American Life story where
Mm-mm.
this guy Mike Daisy, who was like a writer, he has this whole monologue about the working conditions in iPhone assembly plants in China.
Uh-huh.
This was 2012, but it
Okay.
comes out and they put it on This American Life, and then it turned out that a lot of his stuff was heavily fictionalized. Like he was like, "Well, it's true in spirit, even if the details aren't." And he's like, "I'm not a journalist." And This American Life had to retract it. It was a whole thing.
Interesting.
So like, but it got me thinking, because I'm thinking about this moment of when this reaches sort of peak of popularity, like 2008, 2010, and the ways that there was this thing in the air, like where a lot of the late 90s, early aughts companies like Abercrombie, J. Crew, and Gap were kind of like floundering. You had a lot of this talk about, but because of iPhones and how popular and they were becoming more pervasive by that point.
Mm-hmm.
That and smartphones in general, and now we're way more and like these questions of production methods, and
Right.
like you can never, even now, like you can never make an iPhone in the United States. It would cost far too much. So there was like there was an actual kind of like ongoing for about half a decade conversation about these things at this moment.
Mm-hmm.
I'm old enough to remember people complaining about. I mean, before this, and you had the complaints about like Nike and Jordan production and all that.
Right.
So like that whole thing was happening, and so there's this thing where this company, it's so quick and up and down. I mean, it's like a decade.
Yeah.
But it is riding on these larger conversations about capitalism, production, consumerism that everyone's having.
Yeah.
And then it just it gets. Yeah, I think the reason cult is in this title, and I'd love to ask people who wrote it, but it's like it is that ideology and sleaze combination.
Yep.
Right? We were sucked into this thing thinking we're all doing a good thing.
And there was one person in charge.
Yeah.
He was really charismatic. That whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Ideology plus sleaze. Yeah.
Ideology plus sleaze
equals cult rhetoric.
Yeah.
That's our equation for the day. What do you want to talk about?
I mean, so I also do like aside from that, it's another example. We saw this with Brandy Helville, and I don't know if this is still a thing. I don't sense it, but I don't like it. But my kids are just my kids. I don't know that many teenagers, but like
he doesn't actually have 25 children.
No,
far fewer.
The cool young workplace.
Yeah,
like the Empire Records myth.
Yeah,
like I remember in watching Empire Records, like that's the job I want, right? And I remember in different places I lived through college, there being these places that I wanted to work.
Starbucks was at the very beginning of when coffee shops like when it began, the coffee shop ethos, like that was a cool place to work.
That was my one brief moment working at a cool place.
Yeah. College. I mean, lots of companies try to do this not just to sell their product, but also to entice a young labor force. Yeah. Like, so it is all part of this bigger.
Like I remember kids trying to figure out how to get hired at Abercrombie, who could get them hired to work there, like all this sort of stuff.
Also sleaze.
Yes, at least yes.
So much sleaze. So you think that maybe that phenomenon is fading a little bit now, though?
I don't know. I don't know if it is or not. Maybe it's not. Maybe there are places. But I do think that there's something about that. We just have there are so many stories. Like the stories that everyone's telling in the first 20 minutes of the documentary
Mhm.
are like match up to so many cultural tales we have, whether it's like Empire Records or um, Mystic Pizza or like all of these places that are like built around.
Mystic pizza.
I don't know why it was the second one. Like, but there's a variety of these things, and so I think we're all we can all identify with Warren from Empire Records who just wants a job there. That's why he's shoplifting.
Right.
Um,
Right. Wait,
so I don't know.
it's how Michelle got her job. She shoplifted a shirt
That's
and then
right.
she wore it to an
Yeah.
interview.
So I just think it's interesting to like that myth is still sort of held on, and people still kind of like there's something about young people who want that.
Do you think that it is just more diffuse now? Like in the way that once upon a time there were like, water cooler TV shows that now there's no MASH because there's 25 billion like streaming things that like do you think that there's still like the cool place to work, but it's just local to that, like, so that if you live in Cincinnati, you need to work at wherever?
Maybe.
I don't know.
My hypothesis is it's been replaced by.
Sure.
Because and
we're also just shopping online now.
Right.
So nobody's going to stores as much.
No one's even going to like
just that way of buying goods is no longer cool. And so how can you have a cool place to work if buying from places is not
right?
Cool?
I think it's more about the influencer streamer culture and that's seen as the cool thing. And can I get on like I don't like my kid. The one thing my kids do talk about is like this group of dudes who race cars through the streets of New York and put it on YouTube. And have like a whole team of guys.
Yeah.
There's a really bad rapper who I think his parents are rich, who uses that money to buy the cars for these guys and then rides around with them. And all these guys want to be on his crew of guys driving these cars, right?
Right.
Like, that's the cool spot, not want to work in this place.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Right.
I don't know. I don't know. People just don't want to work.
That was the crankiest old man thing.
I know. I'm channeling.
You're okay. You're spoofing.
I didn't mean that.
You're spoofing an idea. You don't mean that.
Yeah.
What's wrong with millennials? They just don't want to work hard. That's why I get it.
Do you have a takeaway?
I think it's a bummer that we find like clearing a bar that is so low it's not even on the floor. It's like the bar is like in Middle Earth. If we clear that bar, we are like launching some amazing revolution. I think that's a bummer.
Yeah.
I think we need to raise the bar. Guess what
like the idea
that's my takeaway.
That we are paying people a living wage,
correct,
to make clothes
should not be seen as.
Also, those clothes were expensive.
That's why I didn't shop there.
Yeah.
I think probably also I didn't really love the like bright colored leggings. Maybe I don't know, but I also don't remember paying enough attention to know that that's what was. I don't know. But yeah, I was not going to. It was expensive in like early aughts money, right? It was like $30 for a t-shirt or something.
Yeah,
but
it's still expensive.
Well, yeah, but like, for early aughts money, I think that's really? Yeah. And so I wasn't going to pay that. I was not able to pay that. I paid my first like early aughts was when I moved to I started graduate school and I paid my first month of rent on my credit card. That's what the early aughts were for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's, I feel like we should raise the bar, but like, that's also not a simple prospect because of those baked in structural apparatuses that we have normalized such that we understand those as fine and chill. And so we don't think about like there will be there are groups of activists who identify like labor conditions and
Right.
sweatshops and, the global consumerism, etc., as like a thing to work on. But that is not part of just like a mass popular discourse of, like,
No, I mean, if anything, like
that's not what people
that
are doing with
discourse that
their
was happening
Thursdays.
around that time is like non-existent.
Yeah. And so to raise the bar, like you have to actually understand what NAFTA is or what, like, and that's not there is, again, as ever, I think we would be well served to think structurally, act locally, or whatever.
Well, I'm thinking like,
But
I don't know that. I feel like 2008 killed the idea of like, I'll pay $30 for a T-shirt because I know it was made well
mhm.
and made in a certain way and it's a certain quality, and so it's like worth it. I kind of feel like that the 2008 recession and everything that's followed it
Mhm.
kind of put a dagger in the ideology that was the possibility of that ideology.
Mhm.
We talk about, or the idealism, I guess, the idealism side of this
Mhm.
idealism, please.
Mhm.
Such that like we didn't come out of that recession and go back to those conversations. That it's just been more scarcity politics for the last almost 20 years.
Yeah.
Um,
What's your takeaway?
So the 48 Laws of Power is like a business book. Like it's popular amongst, like if you look at this, like a lot of people who touted our celebrities and stuff when it came out, but like there was actually a class at Millsaps College in the business school there that was based around the whole book. Like each class was a set of the laws.
And not to like
No. Like
investigate
this
or
is how you
critique
can be a
it. It
good
was
business leader.
whoa.
And so that was on the Wikipedia page. So that was the syllabus. I saw the syllabus for it. I was like, whoa. But what it got me thinking,
It was probably in Harvard Business too. We don't know. I don't want to like.
I don't know, but my point is like
Millsaps. They're doing wonderful things too. I'm sure
there is all of this stuff, and this is something I've been like I've noticed here and there, and I'm like, man, this somebody, and maybe people are, but there's this world, the self-help business book world,
yeah,
and its relationship to things that we might otherwise think of as religion or spirituality or cult.
sure.
Like it's all like there's so much overlap.
Yes,
right, and I think thinking about how these things sort of how like so to my earlier point, I think the category cult is here to stay, but I do see it. We see it again and again spreading into this kind of business world. I mean, we talked about Nexium, like, which is probably, I think, in the post 2000s, probably the most, I think, culty of cults in terms of the way the popular rhetoric about it is, right? Like it's the sex cult.
Yeah.
But it was also started off as like business training.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
And so I think that the more, especially insofar as scholars of religion have often separated business and religion or thought about it like, religion's doing religion stuff in a business or whatever, like the less we allow ourselves to see those lining up and interrelating and we're missing a whole bunch of stuff. And like, I thought the 48 Laws of Power was an interesting example of that.
Because, I mean, again, think of how a CEO functions, though, and it makes lots of sense. These are some of the, because, they got some of the former employees to read a few of those laws.
Yes.
So, to your point, play into people's need to believe and create a cult-like following. Learn to keep people dependent on you. Become a focal point of desire by offering them a cause. Give your new disciples rituals to perform. Ask them to make sacrifices on your behalf.
Yeah.
I liked that there was, because of what we were talking about with Nexium, keep your words vague but full of promise.
Yes.
So that's actually a purposeful thing, everybody. That is not.
So I typed in the
clear rhetoric is important. Pay attention in your composition classes.
I am curious like I typed in 48 Laws of Power into JSTOR and got nothing. I got a few places where it was cited by people in business schools, but I got no like people are looking at this book. And so I'm now very intrigued by this book. In a kind of like, I need to figure out how much it's actually influenced.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm glad that you are intrigued in that way because I think that work is important and needs to be done. I am not intrigued in that way. I feel it makes me like all the more sanctimonious about, composition and rhetoric. When you see vague, it's a red flag. When you see vague rhetoric, ask for clarity, push for specificity. It's a good thing.
What do you mean by that? What do you mean by personal development?
Exactly. Exactly. Well, here's my cult favorite.
Okay.
But what this very thing that we were just talking about is making me think, and something else that you said earlier made me think of this too. A show that kind of spoofs these laws is W1A. Do you know of that show?
No.
My God. I'm about to change your life, and you're welcome in advance. It is a BBC show from like, it was for a couple years. I think it's got like 2 or 3 seasons, 2014-ish, I believe. Anyway, it's like 30 Rock, but for the BBC.
Okay.
And it's got the dude whose name I'm forgetting, but he plays the patriarch of Downton Abbey.
Yeah. Okay.
And it is narrated by David Tennant, who I love. And so it's a good time, and it's a very funny kind of like spoof situation of a corporate media enterprise.
All right.
Anyway, but the one that I had actually like written down, if you want to, I'm about to take the pen out. Are you ready?
Yeah.
From earlier, and say that if you do want to follow the rabbit hole and learn more about American Apparel, the podcast Corporate Gossip, that describes itself as business news for gossip lovers, has an episode from last summer on American Apparel, and it does go into some of the context of like, where did Dov come from? What was his background in Montreal? It starts to make sense of why he has as a priority better working conditions and immigrant labor. They interestingly call it, because again, this came out a year before the documentary did, but they call it the millennial cult of Dov Charney. And maybe that speaks to your point that you were making a minute ago. But Becca Platsky is and her brother are the host. She's a delight, and I recommend.
Yeah.
So I do not know. My brain doesn't keep business news very well. It doesn't hold a lot of that data in the way that I wish it would. But since it is pitched as business news for gossip lovers, it's a little easier to. They kind of break down.
Do you want to know business news?
Well, I think that it's important, like in my attempt to understand things structurally and to look at the systems behind the, phenomena that I do see in the world. I think it's really useful, but my brain isn't able to like contain what kinds of different accounts on the money market with the something what kind of merger I don't do that well. And so they kind of like break it down like what it means to be like whatever this kind of merger means this.
Interesting.
And I appreciate that.
Yeah I do appreciate that. That's interesting.
So there are lots of things that of course from our expertise and methodological background, you want them to slow down on like, wait. When you use this word cult, right?
You say this,
But then also, I very much appreciate their expertise being brought to bear on making business news accessible for Gossip
So you
lovers.
inspired. Okay, so I had one written down.
Okay.
And now you've inspired a second one. So
Ooh.
I too am going to do two. Because this
Perfect.
This
is called Simpatico.
Yeah. So first one that I had written down, season 3 of Perfect Match is on Netflix. It's great. It's a great reality show. Everyone who listens to this at all knows how much I love reality television. So Perfect Match used to be the first 2 seasons where it is the like all stars from other Netflix dating shows.
Okay.
So like Love is Blind, Too Hot to Handle, like some of those. So people who are entertaining on that show get asked to come onto this one, right?
Mm-hmm.
This season, they have done something that is kind of a big deal, I think. And I call it a third wave show because it is actually pulling people from other dating shows that are not Netflix franchises. So it has 2 people from the Bachelor franchise on it, people from Love Island, and no one else has done that before.
I wonder if it feels though like when Hulk Hogan moved to
WCW.
Yeah,
that was an amazing reference.
Thank you. You'll notice that I didn't have. I was like, did he move to WrestleMania? He moved from WrestleMania to WCW.
Yes, they're
and so I wonder if it feels like these. I wonder if these reality stars are betraying their homes of origin.
Since you said that, it does have. This is a slight spoiler. If I'm only watched, I think I'm 3 episodes in. So this is a slight spoiler for like the 2nd episode.
Yeah.
But Rachel, the pilot from Bachelor and Bachelorette, who was. So she did the Bachelor All-Star show, Bachelor in Paradise, and was horribly, like used horribly by the producer.
Sure.
They should have, she is like one of the top stars of the whole franchise. They did not treat her that well. It was not great.
Mm-hmm.
Very poorly done.
Mm-hmm.
They treat her like a superstar in this show.
Okay.
They put her with Freddie from Love is Blind, who is the incredibly hot English Undertaker.
Okay.
Like,
so undoubtedly, like they were wooed by better contracts and
they're getting better treatment on screen, and they're getting and so
not unlike WCW that tried to poach WrestleMania's wrestlers. See, I learned from you all the time.
As we have the Sting. If you're not watching, you're not seeing the Sting NWO Sting action figure.
I am retaining information more than it seems. It only looks like I just let it pass vacantly.
My improv. So to your corporate gossip podcast.
Yes.
So something I've discovered recently that has been that thing for me that has simplified stuff I want to understand better.
Okay.
But it's not as useful as business news. There's a there's a guy, his website, CoachDanCasey.com, and he has a newsletter you can subscribe to, and it's called One Play a Day. And what you get in the email every morning during the week is a GIF of a football play, and then he has the diagram of it. And then he has and he has the information about like the down, the distance, the formation, the like all this stuff. And then underneath it, he has like 2 or 3 more GIFs. And so you can I'll sit there and watch it for like 5 minutes on my phone, and I'll like look at the play that happened, and I'll look at the diagram, and I'll see, okay, so this guy did this, and this guy did this, and this is what happened here. And then I'll watch it, and it's like it is my new like Wordle. Like it's a puzzle to kind of like understand. Like, can I translate this picture, this like play sheet, you know, like the diagram? Can I translate that onto what I see in the little GIF video?
Okay.
Right. And it's actually helped me. Like, if you're the kind of, I've talked to people occasionally who like want to understand football better because it just seems like it's just a bunch of people moving all at once and then it's over. And then like you do start, I have noticed in the last couple of weeks, I've been looking at this, like I start to notice, that like, and there's no explanation. So you're kind of figuring it out on your own. Like, how does this work?
I was worried that it was going to, I thought that you were going to take it into like, these were tips for like life success. So that's good. That's good.
Yes. Yes. When in doubt.
I tried that with soccer one time. I tried to like figure out what made it so appealing to people because, you know, a few people who are very, very dear to me love soccer.
Yeah.
And
beautiful game.
Well, I didn't really get that because I just have never really understood what the deal is, but I know that people are very intense about soccer. And so I did like a little anthropological research, asked people what it is that they really like about soccer. I watched the World Cup that year and it was really interesting. I got really into it.
Yeah.
And then I didn't watch again. But it was really it was a nice little exercise that year.
That was that builds on I think I cult favorited the Perfect Pass book. So if you want more of that, go find Coach Dan Casey, One Play a Day. So this, yeah.
I like our
that's it.
simpatico 2 cult
Double
favorites.
cult favorite.
You know, in W1A, one of their systems that they are trying to launch is called Syncopatico, which is very funny. You should watch it. I highly recommend. The whole family would like it, I think.
Okay.
I think.
Yeah,
Give it a go.
Thanks for listening, everybody. And what?
I just love it. Like, you know, we previewed, we gave like a little nod, a little hat tip. We're gonna talk about the vow, and we're like, let's do that. Let's start saying. We know we did it, but now we don't know it. We're back to like not knowing what we're gonna do next time. But that's okay.
Oh yeah,
we'll put that on social media. That's what social media is for.
That's what we should be doing.
That's what social media is for.
We're gonna have a meeting after this and figure this out.
100%.
Yeah. Thanks for listening to Cult Favorite. Subscribe to the podcast, leave us a rating and a review, leave us a comment. I don't know. You can find us on socials at Cult Favorite Pod.
You know, just like a little comment.
Yeah. And then special thanks to the Department of Religious Studies at the University of Alabama for production assistance. And I will say too, speaking of production stuff, like we have video on Spotify and on YouTube. So
Spotify does video?
Spotify does video. It does. It does.
See, this is I can't pay attention to all structures. I want people to pay attention. I want them to do like structural analysis.
Well, yeah, this is also the like I just go do stuff and we're just like, sure, I guess that's okay. So
I'm good.
But yeah, special thanks to the Department of Religious Studies. It's we're recording this right before classes start soon. So
I'm here for it. Everyone. How are you feeling? You feeling ready and raring?
No, I feel like I eventually will be ready.
Yeah.
I'm not there yet. I'm on the path.
It's going to be a good semester.
Thinking about it. Yeah, we'll see y'all in 2 weeks.